Um, I'm gonna piggyback off what she said about why your siblings or your narcissistic siblings hate you. I just want to say, anyway, I just want to say that I'm very sensitive when it comes to my siblings. I love them down. I'm real sensitive when it comes to my siblings. I love them down, you know? All of them. All of them. Every single last one of them. I love them down. And we've always been really tight knit. And we grew up in the house together. Like, my mom had 6 kids. My aunt, my mom's sister, her favorite sister, she had 6 kids. But see, her 6 kids was kind of spread out all over the place. You know what I mean? You know, and they didn't live with her throughout their whole life, you know. They stayed here, they stayed there, they stayed with my grandma for a portion of time. And we all stayed with my grandmother for a portion of time. They was like really spread out. They stayed with friends, they stayed with family members, they stayed with coaches, you know what I mean? They stayed with teachers, they stayed, you know, a lot of different places. Because back when I was growing up, people didn't do the foster care system like that, not in the South. You know what I mean? Not in the South. You didn't leave your children with strangers. There was somebody who was akin to you, somebody who knew you personally, a friend, a family member, somebody was going to take in your kids. We didn't do too much of sending them to foster care so they could be adopted by strangers or people that we didn't know. You know what I mean? That's the reason why I'm so adamant against that, because I didn't grow up like that. When I was growing up, somebody's going to take these children. Somebody, whether it be a cousin, a great cousin, a big cousin, an uncle, an auntie, a niece, a nephew, somebody's going to take these kids. In the South. I'm going to leave it like that, in the South, because I know friends from the North that grew up in the North their whole life, and they actually was in the foster care system really genuinely living with strangers. You know what I mean? And really genuinely growing up, people they didn't know, or something like that, you know? They've had experiences where they lived with people that they didn't know from a hole in the wall, or their family members didn't know from a hole in the wall. But when I was growing up in the South in the early 90s, I mean, like in the late 80s and early 90s, if your parents could take care of you, somebody in your family was going to step up, whether it be your grandma, your grandpa, your uncle, your great uncle, your cousin, your sister, your big sister, your aunt. Somebody was going to take care of you from your family. And that's the reason why, to this day, I don't do that whole strange people who I don't know raising my children. Yeah, I don't do that whole strange people from that I don't know from a hole in the wall raising my children thing. Because I didn't go up like that. I didn't go up like that, so I don't understand that. I can't get my head wrapped around that. That's the reason why the South didn't have too many shelter systems. Anybody realize that the South didn't have too many shelters, where up north it was like sheltered out, because up north is not as family oriented as down here was. People were very tight knit down here. Somebody was gonna let you stay with them. They didn't really need too many shelters down here because somebody was gonna let you stay with them, whether it be an auntie, an uncle, a cousin, a niece, a grandniece. Somebody was gonna let you live in their house before they seen you in the street. You didn't just have homeless people dangling all around, sleeping at the river walk and sleeping on the street and stuff like that. the way you do now. Now them people at that Riverwalk downtown, they just sleeping on them benches and everything, to the point where it used to be somewhere downtown for you to charge your phone at the Riverwalk. But they seen so many people living at the Riverwalk and using that charger port to charge their phone while they live there, to the point where the charger port is going. That's how many homeless people it was living downtown. Now the homelessness in the South is just as bad as homelessness up north, because families aren't like they used to be. And that's how you know families aren't like they used to be, because now they need just as many homeless shelters down here now as they do up there. Because people not letting you stay with them no more. They don't give a ham sandwich. People is not letting you live with them no more. You will find yourself sleeping in a tent or on the streets, for real. Because you cannot depend on family the way you used to be able to depend on family anymore. And that was probably more than likely by design. That was also by design. Breaking up families, splitting up families, starting family trauma, keeping family beef going. All that was by design. So that way, because when you're unified, you don't need homeless shelters and stuff like that. All that stuff was by design. But anyway, like I said, me and my family, me and my sisters and brothers, we haven't really spent too many days without each other. So, very tight-knit with them. But the reason why narcissistic siblings hate you so much as the empath is because, like it was said before, they were taught and groomed to hate you. They were taught and groomed to hate you at some point or another, whether it be a mom or a dad, whether it be a older sister or older brother, or whether it had been a grandparent, a grandparent, or granddad, grandma, great-grandparent. They treated one child better than they treated the other, and they made it very obvious, They made it very obvious that they liked that one child more than they liked the other one. And they didn't make no qualms about it. They didn't try to hide it. They didn't try to they usually make it very obvious that they accept or like or care about one child more than they care about the other. And that started that competitiveness in y'all relationship, and in turn made y'all hate each other. And I think that a lot of times when parents have a lot of kids, they like to keep the confusion going between the children, because at the end of the day, if they don't have the children focused on problems with each other, or beefs with each other, or fights with each other, then the children will be able to focus on the fact that there's not a problem with us. There's really a problem with our parents. And usually, a lot of times, most of the time, parents are usually single parents. Either it's like one mom raising a whole bunch of kids, or one dad raising a whole bunch of kids. And narcissistic people hate being ganged up on. They hate being ganged up on. You know what I mean? They don't like that. So if you got 6 or 7 kids, like for instance, my aunties and uncles and my mom do not get along. And I really thought that it would get better over time. I thought that as they got older, they'll get wiser and things will get better for them. But when I tell you these people cannot get along, and even when they do get along, it's in spurts. It's for a short amount of time. It's never for a long period of time. You know what I mean? And I just think it's sad, because I feel like my Nana had a lot to do with that. Just, always putting them against each other, and using one against the other, or whenever one is with her, they would always talk about the other, and then vice versa. They would always, when one was there, they'll spend their whole time talking about all the rest of them. When the other one was there, they'll spend their whole time talking about all the rest of them, and and the last time she was here, she said this about you. Can you believe that? Oh, and I can't believe she said that about me. And oh, what about her? And and keep changing their faces depending on which child come in the room. You know what I mean? And have the nerve to not only spark up a conversation and a problem about one child, but then when the other child come around, tell that child what the other child said about them. and just kept drama going. And I feel like they did that to keep them from realizing, well, it's not us, we're not the problem, it's her. She's the problem, or he's the problem, or they're the problem. So it's like, don't look over here, look over there. That kind of thing. Don't focus on what's wrong with the parents. Don't focus on what's wrong with us. Don't focus on our issues and our problems and our messed up personality traits. Oh, just focus on fighting with each other. Because once the kids are getting along and they are they're not having any issues with each other, they can all get together and see that we're not the problem. Actually, mom and dad, or mom herself, or dad himself is the problem. But the narcissistic people like to also keep confusion going. Everybody in here getting along like a Brady Bunch. That's too much like right for them. No matter how many children they got, they like to keep drama going. They really drama queens and drama kings. They like to keep stuff going. They don't do peace very well. They don't do quiet very well. You ever sat in a room with a narcissistic person and everything was going well, and before you know it, they just start tripping about something that's very small or something stupid, or you could just tell they just pick a fight with you out of the blue sky. You'll just be like, what happened? I thought we was chilling. They're known for picking fights out of the blue sky because they don't have any peace in themselves. If it's too quiet, it's too peaceful, it's boring. I told you they have ADHD. So they don't like that. Quiet, peace, all that, that's not good for them. They don't like that. So they'll start a problem with you about dumb stuff. I'm talking about something that's so unnecessary. They'll start a big old fight argument about it because they start getting the shakes. Their nerves start getting bad, and it's just like, oh, it's too quiet, it's too peaceful, things are going too well. And they don't trust when things are going well either. They have a very, very, very hard time trusting. So you can do it. You can bend over backwards for these people. You can treat them well. You can buy them things. You can be kind to them. You can do all those good things for them. But as far as their childhood is concerned, all they know is chaos. And even when things were going good in their childhood, was for a short amount of time. So they're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're always waiting for the problem because there was always a problem when they was growing up. If they did have a good day, it wasn't very many good days. So they always waiting for, well, eventually this is gonna go bad. So they end up self-sabotaging. Because it's that whole I'm gonna get you before you get me kind of attitude. Because they lack trust, So they'll self-sabotage their relationship because they feel like it was gonna be sabotaged anyway. So they might as well beat you to the punch. So them having a whole lot of kids in the house playing together and having fun and being positive, they don't like that. They think that's corny. So they gotta start up a little BS, They gotta start up a little BS. Gotta start up a little BS. And they're gonna have a favorite child. They have to. They don't know no other way, And they're gonna make it very obvious. And they're gonna make it very, very, very noticeable that they have one child they care about more than the other. And if they don't have a favorite child, they're gonna have the child they hate the most, which is the opposite. But it's gonna be very, very obvious they can't stand that child. It's gonna be very, very obvious they don't like that child, and it's just gonna cause rifts. And it's just really to keep the focus off of them. It's really just to keep the focus off of them. It's so the children won't sit down and be like, hold on, what we angry about? And then I realized that with my aunts and my uncles not getting along, with my mom's brothers and sisters not getting along, there was always some kind of like underlying animosity between me and my cousins. And then I'm so happy that as we got older, we started realizing, hold on, we ain't the problem. We don't have no beef. I ain't never did nothing wrong. I ain't never backdoored you. You ain't never backdoored me. Not for real. Not as adults when it mattered. You know what I mean? So we don't have any issues. We know we're not the problem. And then we learn to get along as adults, because we realize that, hold on, just because they have problems and they have issues and they can't get along with each other, that don't mean that we shouldn't get along with each other. We don't have all this weirdo stuff going on. So I'm happy that we came to that conclusion as cousins, and we get along. We're not as close as I would like for us to be, or as we used to be, because everybody living their own life, doing their own thing, minding their own business. But we don't hate each other either, So that's good, And yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's just to keep the target off their back, because they don't like being criticized, and they definitely don't like being criticized by a lot of people. So if they have a lot of kids and a lot of children, that's a lot of criticism, coming from one place. They can't stand being criticized. They can't stand being held accountable. So the last thing they want their children to do is start attacking them and trying to hold them accountable as a group. That's all. Stay narc free, please. I'm trying my best. It's hard because they out there. They out there like vultures.